Hey, what's up, y'all? We're back with another video. Now, today we're gonna be reacting to my man Zuby. I like Zuby. I love his opinions. I think that's how you say his name. Zuby. Zuby booty. Zuby. Whatever. It says it dismantles BLM in 10 minutes. Good luck with that. You can't dismantle a social movement that's backed in fact. You can't do it. I don't care how y'all feel about what I just said. The only reason BLM exists is because the criminal justice system treats certain kinds of people, and it brought attention to the topic, and we're talking about it. You can't dismantle it. These videos be having me weak. Dismantle. But maybe he did. Let's go. Alright, let's go.
As the only black member of the panel,
only black member of the panel,
I'm sitting here thinking, what is the correct racial etiquette these days? Do I go to you first? Do I not go to you first? We've got a BBC show, Question Time. I remember the presenter had a similar kind of topic and went to the black member of the panel for his response first, and he turned around and said, "You're coming to me because I'm a black person, and that in itself is racist." So I've got to be honest, I'm sitting here getting myself in a muddle, thinking to myself, goodness me, if I go to you, am I racist? If I don't go to you first, am I racist? I don't know. So can I just start with you?
You can start with me, Michelle. That's all good. I know I'm not racist, so no concerns here.
Your thoughts on all this?
Well, I feel vindicated because 2 years ago I said that this organization was a disingenuous scam, and it has proven itself to be a disingenuous scam. The Black Lives Matter organization, this foundation in the USA, is a grift. They have received millions upon millions of dollars. I believe over $100 million. Okay. I think just in 2020 it was close to 100 million. So this organization has been capitalizing off of unfortunate deaths and tragedies and guilt tripping people to send them lots of money and donations, which I believe most people think is going to go to a good cause. And instead, they are paying themselves 6- and 7-figure salaries. They're flying around in private jets. They bought a $6 million mansion. They've got over, what was it? It's written here. They invested $32 million in stocks in 2020 with donation money. So this is an outright scam. So
before he goes on, I want to make this point, okay? Do you feel the same way about churches? If so, I want you to understand something. When someone is a private, what is it called, man? It's a tax code that you basically, I forgot what it's called, but it's like a tax code where basically you get money and you don't have to pay taxes on it. But it's some kind of code that you put in where it's like the organization, the people working in the organization get a certain percentage of whatever comes in from the money. It could be 1%, it could be 2%, it could be 3%. Let's say the organization brought in $5 billion. That 1% that you're giving to those people is going to be $1 million. You see what I'm saying? And if you put that into it, I'm not making an excuse. I'm not making an excuse for it. I'm just saying, like I understand the process of how it works. So you got to pay the organization. People in the organization have to be paid for going out and doing work in the community. Now, I'm going to research because I don't know if this is true or not, where that money is actually going. I do know the house was bought. I do know about that. But again, BLM brought in billions of dollars. It did. It brought in billions. So if you were going to pay your workers 1% of whatever was brought in, or 0.34%, or whatever the percentages you agreed on, and you brought in billions, you can't be mad at if it's a church or if it's a social organization, if they're paying their workers based on the percentage that they signed the contract in the first place. I understand it's shitty, and what they should do is give that money back and invest in the black communities. But I don't fault them for taking the money that they were guaranteed at the very beginning of the start of the movement.
When we talk about Black Lives Matter, it's important to note that this is a semantically overloaded phrase, intentionally. It refers to at least 3 different things. There is the statement, the basic phrase, Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Everybody agrees, every decent human being around the world, across the political spectrum, agrees that Black Lives Matter because...
Obviously not, because they created All Lives Matter. Obviously not. All Lives Matter was to project Black Lives Matter. It was, straightforward.
All human lives matter and should be treated with respect and dignity. Number 2 is the organization, or organizations. I think in the USA, this one we're referring to is the primary Black Lives Matter organization. And a lot of people don't know that there is an organization with founders, with people who are receiving the money. It's a nonprofit. And
a nonprofit, that's what I mean.
They've been raking it in. They've been raking in the money over the past few years. And as we've seen here, they have been spending it on enriching themselves. And it's essentially money laundering. I think what they've done here is most likely illegal.
Yeah, so I have to say that they would say in their own defense that they've not done anything wrong.
Well,
no, they haven't done anything wrong, technically, according to what I just told you. It's a nonprofit organization, and at the beginning of the organization, you guys, people have to get paid in order to build and move an organization. They have to, man. That's just how it works. That's why, like, I've never faulted churches either for this. If for a Creflo Dollar or Kenneth Copeland is the biggest one. You pay the pastor a percentage based on what you bring in. It's a non-profit organization, but you pay the pastor based on whatever percentage is what you bring in. If it's 1%, boom. I mean, I'm not gonna repeat myself, but yeah, you get where I'm going with that. It's not illegal at all. That's why nobody's been arrested in BLM. It's not illegal. It's just morally wrong. Morally, it is wrong. Like, I ain't gonna disagree with that. Morally, it's wrong.
You mean anyone can look at these articles and these numbers here. Paid the baby father $970,000 for creative services. Paid the brother the $840,000 for security. Fellow director got $2.1 million. This is all just in 1 year.
But then, right? So Emma, like the challenge is because every decent individual, which hopefully is the majority of people, want to see racism stopped and ended. And you know, when something comes along, and I think this whole kind of Black Lives Matter, it is like now a complex web of you've got different charities, foundations. So for some people it's the hashtag, for others it's a slogan, you know, movements, whatever. And it has all become this kind of ball of kind of, if we take BLM as, well, let me ask you this, do you think even the BLM thing is tarnished? Is it still a trustworthy brand, if you like, when it comes to the fight against racism? Zuby's shaking his head.
He never was.
I think it's really important that you separate the concept of Black Lives Matter as a campaigning phrase, a positive campaigning phrase. The simple conception that Black Lives Matter and that saying separately Black Lives Matter is important when, particularly in America, too much of the importation of some of this to the UK, where we have very different structural elements in racism, and it's completely different. And when we import attitude towards racial relations, it's actually very unhelpful because we have very different struggles and different attitudes. From what is an organisation that does not, on the surface and from these stories, appear to be well managed or managed in such a way that is doing what it is set up or supposedly set up to do. I think it's really, really important that we don't lose sight of the important conception of what Black Lives Matter should be about,
right,
from the organisational failures. And this is something that happens, and I'm somebody who works a lot with.
Basically, don't lose sight on what it's supposed to be because of the organization, what the organization is doing. Get the organization to actually invest that money back into the black community. But everybody in the organization should be getting paid. Like, that's the weird part. Like, only when it comes to Black Lives Matter, you don't question any other organization. Your company could rake in $62 billion. Give $62 billion. Give the CEO $5 billion, $10 billion, $9 billion, whatever. None of y'all complain about that. Like, all y'all like, oh, that's okay, that's cool. You know, give the CEO $9 billion, $10 billion. What, $9 million, $10 million, right? And give the rest of y'all about $15 an hour. Nobody's complaining about that, but when Black Lives Matter does it, it's like, oh, it's a problem. To me, that sounds funny. But again, I do think it's a social organization supposed to be investing back in the community. So yeah, invest back in the community. But they do invest back in the community. That's the part they're not telling you. Like, they are investing money into the community. The whole point of doing the stock thing was to invest back into the community. It was to teach blacks about stocks specifically. Give them a trade hand in stocks. Boyce Watkins was back in it a little bit. Boyce Watkins has a whole site where he gets money from BLM to help black people actually go into stocks and trade and perform like that. So, dude is just like, and this is all these dudes just be liars, man. I'm just trying to like be calm with it. Not necessarily, I want to say Zuby's a liar, but I'm saying like, because he's looking up the information, but he doesn't understand the details of the information. I don't think. Like, I don't know, but we'll see.
The third sector, the voluntary sector, and campaigning organisations to think about how campaigning can be done well. And the best way of campaigning is to put yourself out of business. If you can get to a point where what your charitable objective is achieved, then you should be putting yourself out of business.
Well, unless you're Stonewall, but that's a whole different topic. No, sorry, carry on.
No, it's not. It's what you guys are talking about. She's 100% right. In order for a social movement to do anything, you need business dollars in order to do it. You go back to the 1960s. There's a man. There's a bunch of men, but there's a specific man. I forgot his name. He was a black millionaire. He's one of the only black millionaires at the time. Damn, I can't think of his name right now. I just got done reading his book. It was good. He had to invest in a lot of the social movements that were going on at the time because he didn't have the money to do anything. You need money to fund a social movement.
Fortunately, an awful lot of time what happens is that the organisations become too big to put themselves out of business, and their objectives snowball and they go in completely different directions, or they become untouchable, ungovernable. The individuals and the behaviours of an organisation become inseparable from the campaign aims of an organisation. And actually those two things should be very separate. And any good campaigning organisation should be as self-critical as possible rather than self-defensive as possible. Because it's only by continually saying, are we doing this as well as possible? Are we putting ourselves out of business? That you can actually achieve a campaign goals and aims rather than maintaining an organisation.
I'm keen to come back on that, but Harriet, I'm conscious you've not come in. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think this is something that's been happening more and more, and it is very sad. I mean, we've seen this with identity politics, exactly the same thing. At the beginning, every right-minded person believes, Black Lives Matter and that trans men and women should have equal everything with everybody else. And yet both have been taken over in the same way and actually used to cause division and hatred and violence. And both, I think, have been run almost as extortion rackets. Yes. That we have to pay lip service, otherwise, you're going to lose your reputation, you're going to lose your career. And it's very, very sad, the way this has happened. And it's actually promoted, great distress and not brought about the good things that we were led to expect it would.
Yeah, because Zuby, one of the things that I find, I don't like it actually, is being told, right, unless you take your Instagram and put a black square on this time and this day and leave it there, then you are a racist. And as for you, unless you take the knee at all your football matches, your Formula One, whatever it is, then you're a racist as well. And I really reject that, actually. Why?
And so do rational people. Like, so do rational people in Black Lives Matter. What they're saying is, hey, stand in support. Stand in support. Like, just support. Like, nobody's forcing anybody to do anything.
You're scrunching your face and you don't think that happens?
No.
I think there's a...
It doesn't happen. It doesn't.
To help their Feed Our World program, which is a life...
spectrum here, and we're talking about two very extreme ends of it.
Good.
And I actually think most of it is just in the middle of that spectrum. On the taking of the knee, I think it should be an individual's choice to do it, but I think when people do it, some of the criticism they face is as extreme as some of the criticism that those who criticise them for doing it face. And I don't think either of those is helpful to
I think
Facts. This can't be land of the free. If kneeling might cost your position, I'm supposed to respect the system. They call my brothers sons of bitches. Like, it can't be land of the free if kneeling costs your position. He kneeled, it cost his position. That's what Black Lives Matter is fighting for.
It's perfectly fair for a Premiership footballer to say, I'm going to take the knee because I feel solidarity and I feel like it's really important that I do this. And they shouldn't be penalised for that. Then other people can say, that's not my choice and I shouldn't be penalised for that either.
Thanks.
I think it's very clear even from this conversation, and all the conversations every time BLM comes up, is that it is divisive. It it's divisive. This is stoking racial tension, not just in the I mean, it's crazy it's been imported to the UK, but in the USA, it's exactly the same. You had cities on fire in 2020. There was so much tension. Multiple people got killed. Over 20 people got killed in the BLM protests and riots in 2020. So this started from one black man getting killed, and then you've got another few dozen.
But Zuby, some of these organisations, they'll say to you, but Zuby, you are oppressed, and we're here to help you.
No, that's not what they would say to you. They would say, what about the generation and generation and generational trauma that exists from everything that has happened to blacks in this country? That's what they would say to him. Like, that is where this frustration didn't just come from BLM. This frustration has existed for centuries. Like, it has existed for centuries. Like, stop with this bullshit, man.
They're not there to help me, and they're not helping me. They're not helping black people in general. They are helping themselves. The way you stop racism is by people not being racist. It's not by calling everyone racist. It's not by making false and unkind accusations against everyone. It's not about virtue signaling and putting up hashtags and black squares and kneeling down. It's about simply treating people as equals. That's all.
And do you buy into?
All right, well, I gotta call it quits because my camera about to die, y'all. So I might do this reaction again and finish off the rest of the video. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching the video. I do appreciate you. I'm out.